Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate integrity and transparency. Today I got a little off the cuff. This is a rant style, so shout out to Jack Mallers. I want to play a bunch of clips from him, but that's not going to be in this video because he went for 2 hours in his last podcast. So I'm going to try to give you the highlight reel without playing any clips on this, and also kind of how, of course, how that affects Bitcoin and where we're at right now in the Bitcoin cycle. So things were looking on the up and up. Let me switch this back to daily. Like after Trump walked back his, we're gonna go hard and hit him hard at China. So we started trending upward, and now we come back down. And literally like clockwork, like it feels as though this is definitely market manipulation, because as we were trending up, then all of a sudden you get Trump talking about tariffs again. I forgot what date that was. Yeah, something like he said, yeah, this right here. So the meeting won't happen. So it's like things start looking up right here, Bitcoin 114. Maybe we're not going to have the meeting, right? So it seems like he just purposely puts this stuff out. Somebody is clearly in the know. Like there's no happenstance about this. It's not an accident. And then what I want to really shape up is what Jack touched on for his 2-hour podcast. And it ties into essentially that China and the US are the big heavyweight fighters in GDP, world trade, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, take a look at this chart right here, right? So you got United States, 27 trillion, and then China at 17. And the next closest is 4.5. You could literally add up probably the next, who knows how many, and they wouldn't add up to the US and China. So all the other tariff talk and stuff like that that Trump had, that was mainly just trying to get a one-sided balance sheet, so to speak, so that he could hopefully strong arm China into cutting a deal that favors the US. But the interesting part about all of this is what Jack brought up in his recent podcast. So definitely check this out. End of fiat, Bitcoin's time has come. So you guys know, if you've been watching my channel long enough, you know that we have been in this post 1971 dollar when Nixon rug pulled the entire world and like, haha, we're not backing the dollars anymore. It pretty much, the dollar became a meme coin. And it's been trending down ever since. So the US, because of this, has not basically had a middle class. Like once all this happened, that's when things started shifting around the world. I think it was 1973 or very shortly thereafter that they went to the petroleum dollar, where they're like, yo, let's just get our foot in the door with the Middle East and make sure that all of the oil in the world is priced in dollars. So like anybody needing to buy oil, regardless of who you're buying it from, the US controls the balance sheet because it's priced in dollars. So that's how we kind of was able to still keep this dollar fiat Ponzi going that much longer. And on top of that, countries whose fiat currency has failed, the dollar has been interwoven into their system, much like trading in Venezuela. They prefer the dollar right now, even though they have the Bolivar, and in Ecuador, and even in Cambodia, they use the dollar alongside the real. These are just countries I've been to that there, probably to a bunch others. So I say all that because showing how the US is essentially this top GDP producer, all of this actually, the bulk of this is actually in our stock market. We are not actually producing things that go out like China does. So other countries can invest in our stock market, and they do. Because remember, one of the games to play was taking your country's proceeds extra and buying treasuries. And what do you do with those treasuries? Treasuries and or the stock market, right? So all of this money is technically investment money. We're not really producing anything. I haven't brought up a chart like that, but if you're from the US, you know for a fact that, yeah, we don't really outsource or produce and send out that much. Hence why Trump was running on this big, we're going to tariff everybody. Because it's like, because we don't really send out anything, it's like, yo, we need to make money back on all the goods that we're buying. We do most of the purchasing with that inflated surplus that's in our stock market. So it's like, what do you do with all these extra investment dollars? Well, you buy the stuff that your country needs. And that's what brings us to the big dog fight that Jack was talking about. And that's with these rare earths. So China has the rest of the world by the balls. So the reason I brought this up with 1971, and I've mentioned this before on my channel, China and Russia, specifically China, play 3D chess while everybody else is playing checkers. What I mean by that is they are able, especially China, communists, their prime minister, Xi Jinping, he is put into power and he will be there 20, 30 years. I don't know how long, let me see. Okay, pull this up. Okay, I was being a little overzealous, a little dramatic. It's not that bad. It's about 10 years. So you had 5 year, 10 year here, 5 years here, 10 here, 10 here, and this one's currently going on 13. So the reason I bring that up is because you can play a much different game when you have a longer time horizon. Perfect example is investing in shit tokens versus Bitcoin. People are trying to get rich quick tomorrow, whereas Bitcoiners are like, yo, I'm just gonna hodl because I'm looking at 4 to 10 years from now. But also, even though these are different people over the last 42 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, do you not think they were probably running in some of the same circles, just like our politicians? So passing the torch, it's not like, I mean, it's communist, right? So it's not like some random one-off is coming out of nowhere, left field, to take the reins. So the playbook that Li Xianyin, probably pronounced that wrong, came up with is, I'm sure, the same playbook that Xi Jinping is running. And again, I bring that up because these rare earths have been being mined for like the past 20, 30 years. And China, well, let's rewind that. First of all, mining rare earths is extremely toxic and hazardous to the environment. So a lot of places won't even allow them to be mined. China put on their thinking hat and said, hey, if we can start mining these things 30, 40 years from now, people are gonna need them. We'll have a stockpile that we can, strong arm the world with. Now, if you're not familiar, rare earths are basically a bunch of different minerals that by definition aren't actually rare because they're used in so many different things. Anything that is a piece of tech that has a smart chip or does anything smart related, computer processing, whatever, contains some form of rare earths. So from your smartphone to your smartwatch to a GPS in a car, AI platforms, computers, you name it, they contain some form of rare earths. And most importantly, our military uses them in rockets and everything else they are there. So I'm bringing all this up to say is that we see this back and forth about Trump, tariffs, and China, and then like this recent one, it's not gonna be sustainable for them. It is 100% sustainable for China. We are the ones that are backed into a corner because the US has been using the speak softly, carry a big stick platform for the longest. We just threatened to blow anybody up that disagreed with us. It's like the recent missiles that were dropped in Iran on the nuclear silos or whatever those were. And supposedly, I think it's gonna be like another 20 years to basically recoup that or rebuild that, the amount of missiles that were dropped, or maybe it was somewhere else. But the point is, we don't have the rare earths or the capability to manufacture any of this stuff in the US. Now, one thing I'm disagreeing with Jack with is he said that it's gonna take 20, 30 years because you have to get your labor force up to speed to do that. Like if you are, 30 years old right now and you have a kid, you can't send them to the mines to work till they're 18, right? So that's like 2 decades. But the only caveat to that I disagree, it may not take that long because I believe that's the Raoul Pal thesis about what AI is going to do. Now, I don't believe we're just gonna have a bunch of robots running around in 5 years, but if you look at any of the stuff that Elon's doing, and he wants to essentially terraform Mars and mine Mars, and that's what the Boring Company is for, and all these reusable rockets, and now making the actual robots themselves be able to do humanoid tasks. Make no mistake that this is a $1 trillion problem to solve. And if Tesla robots can start mining for rare earths or whatever else we need them to do to ramp up production to get the US on a competitive scale, that is the solution. That's the Raoul Pal code. It's not about people anymore. It's going to be about, as they say, previous wars were fought with ships, now they'll be fought with chips. But right now, all the chips are in the hands of China. So bringing that all back together is that China holds all the cards, and the US can no longer threaten China or anybody else with war, dropping bombs or whatever the case may be, even with this big thing going on with Taiwan, right? We can't just invade anymore. We don't have the money. Like, we're literally 38 trillion in debt now. We ballooned up there. Here we go, 38 trillion. And we don't have the rare earths to threaten anyone with dropping bombs or missiles. So this China deal will get fixed at some stage. I don't know when, but definitely make no mistake, it will be done before the midterms next year. And I have a feeling it's going to drag out because right now we're stuck with the whole government shutdown. But I have a feeling it will be done by around the same time that the new Fed chair is elected. Like, I believe the Republicans, if they want to have a positive tailwind going in the midterms, they're going to have the money printer turned on. They're going to kick out stimulus checks, and they are going to have the deal side with China and a finalized deal with Russia and the Ukraine. Those 4 things by May. Now, I'm just making that up because it just seems like the business thing to do. There's no writing on the wall, crystal ball that I'm reading, but those are 4 big things that will send Bitcoin to the moon. Now, the deal they get with China, I have a feeling that the US is going to have to, suck something up. But the way that they will frame it, stealing this straight from Jack, is that he'll get some kind of investment deal from China to invest in the US. So it's like, okay, we're going to get the rare earths, and China's going to invest X trillion dollars over the next couple of years, like we've seen with other deals, because that is the bargaining chip. And they also control like 40% of exports for like anything you see in your local store. So they definitely have the world by the balls. And since they're exporting things to other countries, they can easily do like what they're doing with BRICS and stuff like that. So I'm bringing all that up because if you don't have the context and know what's going on, then this noise can wash you out. So Bitcoin went to 108. We get another tweet from Trump. We see that no deals are being made and they might not have a meeting, blah, blah, blah. And Bitcoin just jumps off the fucking cliff again. There was also a CME gap around here, so those could go together. But make no mistake, again, the playbook is the US has no money. The US has no way to bargain with anything else other than striking deals and getting all this stuff moved forward so that they can print the money. Like, that is the only way to fix the debt problem, is to debase the denominator. Do I have this up still? Now, this is a small drop in the bucket. Let me make this bigger. Edit. But this is just to show you what can be done. So we have here the 261.5 million 40 ounces of gold. And I put this at an evaluation of 4,500. We're not there now, but that's just to show you that it's 1.176 trillion against the actual book value of 11.7 billion. So remember, on the books, it's like at $42.13, $43 and change, rounding it up to 45. So if you have that on the book value, that's 11 billion. But at the current market price, it's 4,500. So if you double that, say gold gets to 9,000, like some people are talking about, not anytime soon, but just to show you, you now have all of a sudden $2.2 trillion. Now we do the same thing with Bitcoin. Strategy owns 640,000 Bitcoin. The US currently has 330. It's close to their 1 million goal. They would have to do some kind of deal to absorb Strategy or whatever the case may be. But then all of a sudden at a 150K BTC price, you now have $145 billion. that goes to 1,000,000, you now have another $1 trillion. So I'm showing you this, like, this is obviously a drop in the bucket compared to 38 trillion, but this is the playbook that Jack is talking about. Debase the dollar against what? So if you are holding these assets, gold and Bitcoin, and even silver has gone up, then as the US is debasing the dollar and money is flowing into these harder assets, then you end up winning and the US ends up winning. So anyone holding these assets ends up winning, right? So at some stage, they can continue to debase that. Remember, Bitcoin has no top because fiat has no bottom. So as you continue to debase fiat, that rolls into Bitcoin. And then at $10 million a coin, as Michael Saylor would say, and you got 1 million Bitcoin, you now have $10 trillion worth of capital, of book value that you can start to reback your currency with. And if these strategic reserves of all these other things that they have end up being part of that as well, like what was that guy Christopher Green was talking about, XRP or Litecoin or Solana or something like that, who knows? But it's basically the playbook of the stock market all over again. So it's like, this is the current GDP of the United States, but most of that is in stocks and equities. But if they can put that into crypto, stable coins, gold, then you can eventually have something that quote unquote backs the debt. So it's closer than anyone would think, but the TLDR is that it will require massive money printing, and you want to benefit from that by having Bitcoin, the asset that's going to, basically become that new settlement layer for all this basement. And here's one other one. This is not the one I was looking for. The one I was looking for is actually 1.5 trillion that Jamie Dimon, yeah, here it is, our JPMorgan finance affiliate, 1.5 trillion funding companies. Basically, this is supposed to be towards that rare earths digging and mining for. So all of this ties together. China has the cards. They'll have to strike a deal. That will be done, in my humble opinion, by second quarter next year. And all of this would just means Bitcoin is going to the moon, and you better have your ticket on that rocket ship. All right, smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below, and until next time, lift daily and keep your